Hello, beautiful people. It's your girl Gina and it's Gina's signature. So today we're making this beautiful gown with this beautiful sleeve. So if this is what you're interested in, please kindly watch till the end. So this was the inspiration, and I will be showing you the one I made shortly. Yeah. So if this is what you're interested in, please kindly watch till the end. And as you're watching, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share and don't forget to leave beautiful comments. So this was what I made, and if you want this type to really come out, you need to make use of two different types of fabric, because that's the only thing that will bring out the beauty of this style. So later on I'll be stoning it, and that will be all. So without wasting time, let's get right into it. So like I usually do, folded my fabric into two, and I'll be cutting out the front first. And so to this, you measure from your shoulder to your knee, or your shoulder to slightly under your hip measurement, your shoulder to your hip. So depending on where you want yours to get to, it's not mandatory that it should be exactly what was on the or what the model was wearing. You can make yours from shoulder to your knee or shoulder to your hip. Anyhow you see it fit, you can just go ahead. So I've gotten that of my client, which was the shoulder to the knee, and then I folded my fabric based on the largest body measurement, which was the hip size, and then I added some sewing allowances. So I divided the shoulder measurement by 2, I marked that, and I'm trying to get my armhole, and then I came down by 8 inches for my armhole, and then I ruled all those lines out, as you can see. So this is like the basic thing I usually do when I'm cutting this type of styles. It's just that I do this because of some people that will just come across it and they'll be like, how did you do this? You just did it, blah, 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 blah. So I just had to take my time to explain all this. So I came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and for the neck width, I made use of 3.5 inches. But if you want your neck wider, you can go for 4 inches. I'm sloping down my shoulder slope, and then I'll be adding half an inch immediately because I don't want to forget. So it's better to just do that immediately. So now I'll be getting the midpoint of this in order to carve out my armhole curve. You get the midpoint, you go in by half an inch, and then I'll be dividing my bust measurement by 4, and then I'll be adding 1 inch for ease, and then 1.5 inches of sewing allowance. So that is what I'll be making use of. So for my client, I'm going to be using this because this is a hip measurement, and I will be using the hip measurement from the bust to the waist and to the hip, all to the length of the cloth. She wants it free, as in free, free, free. So that is why I'm making use of a hip measurement from up to the down. But if yours is different, just measure your the bust circumference of your client. You divide by 4, you add your ease allowance, and then you add your sewing allowance. You take the waist, and then you take the hip. So however your client wants it, please kindly do whatever your client wants. So I've carved out my armhole, and then I'll be getting my shoulder to my waist first, and then the shoulder to the hip line, and then of course the remaining length is the length of the gown. So the length of this gown, I'll be explaining that very soon. So let's just be through with this first before I'll rush into that. So whatever I marked on my bust measurement is what I'll be repeating on the waist, and then on the hip line, and then of course the length of the gown. So I'll be connecting that on a straight line. And so there we have it. So to neck depth, I'll be coming to the neck depth, and then I'll be coming down by 6.5 inches. But if you want yours deeper than this, you can go for 7 inches or 8 inches, or as low as 9 inches. So this is entirely dependent on your preference. So I'll be connecting this because it's going to be a V-neck line for the front. So I'm slanting it like so. And so basically we are through with the front part, and then I'll be cutting this out. So for this armhole, I'll just cut out the exact armhole. I will not be going in by that half-inch yet, because I'll be using this as a template to cut out the back. So by the time I finish cutting the back, I can now come here to adjust the armhole curve. I believe you understand what I just did. So this is the front piece. Let me fold another fabric and then come back to explain the back. So for the back, I've already cut out my fabric on fold, and the only thing I'm going to be adjusting here is one, I'm adding the zipper allowance of 1.5 inches, and for the neck depth, I'll be coming down by 1.5 inches because the neck width is going to remain constant. And then for the armhole, I'll just be cutting out exactly the same armhole that I cut before adjusting that for the front. So that is basically what I'll be doing right here. So I'm just trying to carve out the neckline for the back, which is going to be a round neckline, but I came down by 1.5 inches for that. And so we're basically through with anything I want to do for the back. I'm cutting the neckline, and then I'll cut the shoulder slopes, and then I'll come around and then cut it out exactly as it is. And so I'll be trying to remove for bulginess of the zipper at the back area. I'll just come in by the waist area by half an inch, and then I'll slant it up and slant it down. So that is going to give me like an A shape or something. There's a way it's going to be curving. So that's to remove any bulginess at the zipper area. And so I'll just be cutting that out. So if you've watched up to this level, please don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share, please. And kindly please leave beautiful and encouraging comments about encourage your girl. So I'm just going to be separating the front and the back like this. So we have a front piece, and then we have a back piece. So for that, I'm all for the front. I'll just, please don't do this. If you want to cut it, I'll remove the one at the lower part so that you won't go and cut through it. But because I can see what I'm doing, that's why I did it like this. So we have the front piece, and then we have the back pieces. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to cut that lower part that will make up for the length of the gown, and I'll be cutting out the lining for this as well. I'll be doing that off camera. So let me set that aside and then go over to the lower part. So now for my client, the full length of my client is 54 inches, and for the shoulder to the knee line, I had like 33 inches. So what I'll be left with will be 20 inches, and this is what I have left. So I'll be cutting the front and the back respectively, because I'll still be adding that zipper allowance to the back so that everything would align. But if you don't want that to cut it in pieces, you can just exactly cut out what I have here. After you must have closed your fabric, then you can sew this all through. But I think it will be neater to do it like this. Just take the exact measurement you have on your knee line, and then you mark it for the length of this. Exactly the same thing, and then you cut it out. Just that is what I did. So to this lower part, initially I did not add a lining, but later on, after I finished the clothes, I decided to add a lining to that because it was not looking the way I wanted it to look. So I ended up adding a lining to that, so that made it a full lining. But what you'll be seeing on the tutorial is that I made the lining from the shoulder to the knee area, but I later added a lining at this lower part to give it that strength or the volume that I would want it to have. Yeah. So I'm just trying to, adjust those, and then I'll be attaching. Let me just show you how it's going to be looking. Let me bring out the front piece and then show you. So this is going to make up for the actual length of the gown. So this is what I have, so you can see it. So this is exactly what I was trying to explain. So by the time you measure it now, you see that it's going to make up for the actual length of the gown that you are making. Yeah. So now let's go over to cutting of the design that we have in the front of the gown. So for the design in the front, I'll just be placing my front piece like this, and you notice that the front piece design is going to be that design that I have there, that yellow thing on that second fabric. So I just placed on fold, though I later did not use the second fold because I didn't get the other line on it, and I left half an inch in front to join the pieces together, as you can see. So I'll just, from the neckline, I'll mark 3 inches all the way to the length. So I discovered that the 3 inches was too much, so you can use 2 inches or 2.5 inches. By the time you remove half inch on both sides, you should be getting like 2 inches, which should be okay, or 1.5 inches. So I later on reduced mine because I've discovered that the 3 inches was too wide for the design in the front. So I'll be cutting only one piece out here. I didn't cut the two because I later discovered that the design was not sitting on that one that was under. You can see what I meant. So I'll just remove it. I want it to be like this because I want it to be on both sides. So I was trying to place it to get the design, but it was not working. I later flipped it again to see whether it will work, but it just did not work until I had to bring in a whole new fabric and cut out that pattern. So I'm just going to be placing it on it like this. Let me just place it very well. I just want the line to be aligned. That yellow thing, that is what I needed. So I'll just cut this out like this and then trim it out later very well. So you can see that the line matches and is being placed properly on each other. So I'll just adjust to what I would want now. So for this, if you want to iron an stay on it to give it volume, you can go ahead and do that, but I didn't do that because I just felt like it was not necessary. It will make the cloth to be too thick, so I used it like this. I just joined it in the middle, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. So after joining it in the middle, this is what I have. I've joined it together, so you can see that is one piece now. You understand what I was trying to explain? Yeah. So you can just give it a good press to press open the stitches like so, then place on the neckline like this. Just make sure you place it very well. So because this is going to be having a lining, and I'll be using a lining to turn the neckline, so all you need to do is just sew this down on the neckline like this. Use a 1/4 of an inch and sew out the V neckline, and then you're going to be, so for the sides, these sides that are curvy, I made use of a bias. There's a way I did it. I used a bias first, and then it's the bias that guided me when I was sewing it. That is the secret. If you want this curvy part to lay flat and neat the way it was on the model and the way it came out when I had finished it, just use a bias and then turn it inside, just like as if you are using a bias to turn something. Use it and then turn it, sew it first, and then use it to serve as a guide when you are sewing it. That was how I did this, and it came out very neat. So the lower part, I've gone ahead to join it. So that's the front part. I've even used my lining to turn the neckline there. So for the back piece, I've gone ahead to just turn it with lining and fixed my zipper, and then attached this lower part of it to make it up for